welcome to Insider Focus, and today it's Rangers again because what is already going to be a huge summer is now well and truly kicking off. A few new signings set to come in the door, a new target too that we're going to talk about at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Also, we're expecting Rangers to release in the next 48 hours or so a list of players who will no longer be at the club come the summer. There are a number of players obviously out of contract. You're talking about your likes of your Scott Arfields, etc., Helanders, etc., who have been at the club for a long time, but perhaps the time has now come for them to leave in the summer. Michael Beale is beginning his rebuild. You're seeing in the games that he's playing, and the squads that he's playing, now the future kind of is showing the future. But Crowley coming in for McGregor, for example. Even Yilmaz coming in for Barisic, although Barisic we expect to stay at Rangers unless a good offer comes in for him in the summer. You're looking at the likes of John Souttar playing more regularly too. And then obviously you've had Yanis Hadji come back, scoring his first goal. 69 games he missed in total with injury, and he came back and scored yesterday. He's brought in the likes of Cantwell, Raskin come in as well too. You're seeing more of the likes of Matondo, for example. Now, according to my colleagues at Football Insider, Thierry Small has also been inquired about, the left back who is 18 years old. He's been at St Mirren this season on loan from Southampton. Contract expires at Southampton in 2024, so just 1 year left on his deal. With Southampton being relegated, Rangers are taking the opportunity, it sounds like, according to the reports, to have a look at Thierry Small to perhaps help fill out that left back position, which of course then puts in doubt the future of Ridvan Yilmaz and Borna Barisic, who we expect will still have a role to play. But Barisic has only got a year left on his contract, like I said, so a lot to look out for there. Look out for Thierry Small, potentially being a Rangers target. And we know that Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent are set to leave the club. Two huge characters in Rangers over recent seasons. Two players that have been key to the success that has been built in recent years, from the Scottish Cup to the League to the Europa League final. But the time has come for Rangers to rebuild, to bring some new faces in. We know that they've got Dujon Sterling arriving from Chelsea, the right wing back who can also play centre back on the right hand side, has done a couple of times. We know that Dowell's coming in from Norwich on a pre-contract deal too. But there's now two more players that we understand are on their way potentially to Rangers. One for sure, and one we know that Rangers like. Still far away from any deal being done on that one, but we'll talk about that in a second. Ryan Jack has agreed a new 1 year deal with the club as well. That's not a surprise, we were expecting that. Beale has already publicly spoken about how big a fan he is of Ryan Jack, and he makes what he thinks he does to Rangers when he plays, which is make them better in his opinion, and Jack now stays for another year too. Ryan Kent was linked to reported to have agreed a deal with Fenerbahce. Our understanding is at that time that was not true. No deal had been agreed, although Fenerbahce had offered a contract to Ryan Kent. They have offered him an opportunity to move to Turkey. There's a lot going on at Fenerbahce though as a club. The board could change, the manager could change. They've not had the most successful season in their eyes. Galatasaray clinched the Turkish title, so that's nowhere near a done deal either, and Kent has offers from England, so the opportunities for him to go are there too. And then we've spoke about Glenn Kamara a million times, a player that's still wanted by clubs around Europe, hasn't featured as much for Rangers and could be on his way out the door also. One player we know for sure that is on his way to Rangers, although that likely could be in winter next year when his contract expires, is Jose Cifuentes, the Ecuador international. He's actually made 15 appearances for his country. He's a full international player, and he's arriving from LAFC on a pre-contract deal. Talks now very advanced, and he's hinted himself about the fact that he will be leaving the club upon his contract expiring. It could be done in summer. Rangers could get a really cheap fee for him, but it's looking more likely it'll be a pre-contract deal in December next year, and this could be a very, very good signing for Rangers. I'm not going to sit here and profess I've seen him play 9 million times, because that would be a lie, but I can tell you that he's a player that was looked at by Leeds and scouted heavily by Brighton too. And when Brighton are looking at a player, usually they're pretty good. Brighton's recruitment has not been bad at all over recent years. He signed from Uni Católica for LAFC in 2019 for the cost of around €2 million at the time. He's been a good player for them over that period. Like I said, he's a full international. He can play in that defensive midfield role, more of an industrial player, I think, than a technical player. But maybe what Rangers have been missing in terms of legs and energy, someone who can get up and down the pitch, a target for the club for a while. They've been looking at him for a while, only 24 years old, a player they can get on a long-term deal, bringing him to the United Kingdom as well, and potential sell-on value too. It gives him all the marks that Rangers are looking for in a player. We knew they were going to strengthen in the middle of the park, and it does again suggest those things that I was talking about earlier, that more midfielders will be leaving. Scott Arfield, for example, there's links that Scott Arfield could potentially be heading across to the US to finish his career, and he's been a fantastic servant for Rangers. We've talked about Kamara potential leaving the club. Stephen Davis' situation is a bit up in the air and unknown. Does he go into a coaching role, even though he said himself he's not finished, but obviously at the tail end of his career? And Cifuentes is going to be one to come in, join Raskin and Cantwell in the centre of that part to bring more energy, more legs, that way that Beale wants to play, with high intensity, high press, keeping the ball moving, and this is the type of target that suits him. He's a player with a great ceiling, shall we say. Now, of course, no signing is guaranteed. No signing is guaranteed to be absolutely superb. And you don't want to put unnecessary pressure on anyone's shoulders for any club who they're signing for. However, he does have a high ceiling and a potential to be a very, very, very good signing for Rangers. And that will make it 3 that we know of, along with Sterling, Dowell and Cifuentes. We know that Rangers are going to bring in a few players in this window. We know that it's going to be a very, very, very busy one, and it shows as well. Some reports were suggesting they'd only buy from the UK. We always knew that wasn't true. Rangers have been scouting heavily all over the place. They've got a big recruitment team there. Despite the loss of Ross Wilson, the director of football, Michael Beale and his recruitment staff are still looking at a number of players who they might have actually looked at or did look at when Beale and Gerrard were there together. Perhaps Beale's finally bringing in some of the targets that he wanted a few years back when he was at Ibrox. Now, as I've already stated, Alfredo Morelos will be leaving in the summer. We can expect to hear about his new club in the coming weeks. Some good offers on the table for Alfredo Morelos, and there could be a surprise in store for a few people with where he actually ends up. Keep an eye out for that. Follow us at Football Insider. Follow me. We should have that for you when it happens. That could be a very, very big deal indeed. We'll wait and see what happens on that front. I think a few things need to fall in the right places, but we'll wait and see on that front. However, Rangers, of course, looking to replace him. There could be 2 strikers come in. The future of Čolak is obviously unknown. He's not been a favourite under Michael Beale. But we can tell you that Rangers have made an inquiry for Matija Frigan, the Rijeka striker. Now, Rijeka are in no position to have to sell him. He's contracted until 2025. And let me be clear when I say we're told they've made an inquiry. How advanced those talks are is not maybe... I'm not sitting here and saying they're absolutely signing him, but he's certainly a player that the club have looked at and asked about for sure. That is what we know. He has scored 15 goals in 30 appearances this season, and he's only 20 years old. A young striker with, again, another high ceiling. Hallmarks of the Morelos signing itself. A player that nobody really knew when he came in, and he was meant to play second fiddle to Eduardo Herrera at the time, but obviously Morelos took over very quickly when he started banging in the goals like nobody's business, and Rangers will hope that Frigan can come in and do that as well. He's capped under 21 level in Croatia and hasn't played a massive amount of games, but he does currently average around a goal every 2 games, and that is not bad at all for a 20-year-old striker. He's also got European experience. He's played in the Conference and Europa League too, and that'll help Rangers as well. For a lot of experience for 20 years old, and obviously there are Croatian links at Rangers. Borna Barisic currently there, a Croatian internationalist. So this is a deal that is absolutely doable for Rangers. It just really, the ball is in Rijeka's court because, like I said, they have him until 2025 under contract. Whether there's a release clause in that deal, we're yet to confirm, but we do understand if there isn't, then obviously Rijeka kind of have the cards. They can say what they want for the striker. He is their employee and he's contracted under them. So whether it moves forward from our inquiry, we shall wait and see over time. But despite that, the 20-year-old is someone that Rangers have looked at, and that speaks volumes. You're not really seeing many 29, 30-year-olds coming in to Rangers. These are long-term signings. These are guys that they can bring in and sell on. And you've got to look at the likes of Bassi and Aribo, etc., who have happened before under Beale's tenureship, obviously, with Gerrard previously, and getting back to the ways of bringing in players who he knows he can develop into something perhaps special. Now, it's a big, big deal for Rangers to get the right man in. They're a long way behind Celtic in terms of striking potency. Celtic have obviously had Kyogo up front, who has scored goals for fun. They've had Jota on the wing, and then they've got obviously Abada, etc., and all these talented forwards up front. And I think in the Old Firm game, Beale spoke about the difference being in both boxes, and I think Celtic fans and Rangers fans would agree on that, because Celtic took their chances, whereas Rangers didn't. However, in the recent one where Rangers won 3-0, Rangers took their chances and Celtic didn't, which was rare. Obviously, Kyogo didn't start that game for Celtic. However, that's where Rangers need to change, and Beale's obviously been very, very, very vocal about that. So the right man has to come in, and you could see another striker, come in up front as well. It wouldn't surprise me if you see Rangers sign 2 strikers in this window, depending on what happens with Trolach in the summer as well. And next season, Rangers are building good momentum. They got a good result again at the weekend. They've got players like Hadji coming back. And will it be a different season next season? It depends on Celtic's recruitment. It depends on the likes of Kyogo's future, who's wanted by clubs in Germany and down south. Will Celtic extend his deal? 28 years old. Why, he could go for one big last move. We shall wait and see on that front. But next season, Rangers will have to build right. I do expect it to be more of a challenge next year. I do expect Rangers to hold firm a bit longer in challenging Celtic for the title. They have to, but obviously there's a lot depending on if they're in the Champions League or not next year. They have to qualify first, of course, and that route, if you've not seen it, could prove some difficulties. There's some big teams in there that Rangers will have to get by. However, last season shows and the Europa League shows that Rangers have got a pedigree in getting through tough European ties. So we shall wait and see. But Matija Frigan is a target for Rangers. He's a player that the club have looked at, asked about. How much further that will move from now, well, we'll keep you updated as we get it, so keep an eye on all the Football Insider pages for that. Like I said, make sure you like and subscribe for more, and I'll put a link in the description to the official report on Frigan, which I wrote earlier today. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.